रब्बी ज़िदनी इल्मा रब्बी ज़िदनी इल्मा अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन अर्रहमानिर रहीम औज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम again. Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim again, because it is a conversation and an understanding of nafs. And as I was saying, it's going to be more of a pada likha session. I feel it may be that because it has a lot to do with understanding our nafs. Because usually when we speak of the nafs, we have two preconceived notions, and I'm assuming that because I had those. The first one is nafs is singular, and it exists at a singular level. The second preconceived notion that I had about nafs is something to be overcome. Nafs is something to be conquered. Nafs is something to be basically conquered, like a warrior in a battlefield. कि अगर नफ्स एक काला घोड़ा है और आप एक सफेद घोड़े के सवार हो और आपने उस काले घोड़े को somehow tame करना है और उसको आपने overpower करना है. तो ये मेरे दो preconceived notion थे about nafs. Both of them are not true. There's some degree of truth here, but not true. So here's what it is. First of all, nafs, I'll start off with the second one first. I'm called to say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim again because it's okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim again. I'll start off with the second one first. Nafs is not something to be conquered. Nafs is something to be alchemized. Feel into the difference of this, please. Nafs is not something to be conquered. It is something to be alchemized, which means that if nafs was a seed, in the same seed is light, and in the same seed is darkness. And all we're trained to do is look at the darkness, understand the darkness, and then choose to look at the light in that seed. But both the seeds, in that seed is both light and darkness. You can't kill the seed without also killing the light. That means each barrier, each blockage, each challenge the nafs provides, it provides it so that we can use it, understand it, and alchemize it to a higher purpose. For example, agar nafs is equal to greed, 1 degree of nafs is equal to greed, what we're asked to do is alchemize that greed, and get this, so beautiful, alchemize that greed into hunger for closeness to Allah. Subhanallah. You see, within each challenge of the nafs is a challenge that needs to be alchemized so that you can use it for your higher travels, for your expansion, for our higher journey. So you cannot start that journey without the nafs, you see. Nafs is not there to be overcome. Nafs is there to be utilized. It has energy that we alchemize so that we can be the best versions of ourselves, because it holds the essence of both light and dark. It's the same seed. It's the same seed. And the second preconceived notion about nafs, oh, it's one thing. Actually, no. Nafs exists on 7 different levels. There's 7 levels of nafs. And 7, of course, is a gorgeous number. It's the 7 layers of the earth. It's the 7 layers of of Jahannam. It's the 7 skies. It's the 7 layers of the ego. And it's the 7 stages of enlightenment as well. And Quran also within the same principle exists on 7 layers, 7 dimensions of depth, of understanding, of receiving, of benefit. And these layers are not disconnected from each other. They're never disconnected from each other. It's not like a game that we're playing where we overcome one level, we go to the next level, and now suddenly we're okay with the first level. They are all constantly mobile, constantly dynamic, working in beautiful synchronicity with each other. So we've got to work on all 7 levels of the nafs to be able to harness the full potential of our nafs. Do you understand? Like full potential of our nafs. It's blowing my mind just to be able to understand that what I'm actually being asked to do in my human experience is to utilize the full potential of the human nafs. And it takes me back to at the time of creation when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam. And the angel said, Ya Allah, why create this creature? Why send him to earth where he's going to wreak havoc and he's going to spread bloodshed and chaos and conflict? And what did Allah Ta'ala say? I know things you do not know of. And what did angel say? Subhanallah, you're absolutely right. We only know what you have permitted us to know. And so, Subhanallah, look at what Allah Ta'ala has given to us as a gift. Nafs is a purely human gift. Because the potential that it carries within itself for us to alchemize and create from, to be our highest Allah selves, is equally infinite. And all 7 levels are always working in beautiful tandem with each other. And here's another thing. In Sufism, 7 levels of the nafs each equate to a disease of the heart or a disease of the mind. And the reason why it equates to this is there is a beautiful, they're names of Allah, which are given to treat each disease of the nafs at each level. Subhanallah. It's like जब आपको आपके अगर गुर्दे में दर्द है तो आपको उसकी दवाई मिलेगी, अगर आपके सर में दर्द है तो उसकी दवाई मिलेगी. So ये 7 levels of the nafs, names of Allah, are custom designed for catering to, for healing, for softening each challenge of that level, so that once you soften that challenge, it bursts open into light. So ऐसा नहीं है कि just because, and of course because it's nafs and it exists in 7 layers, it may not have physical diseases, but we are witness to the emotional and the mental diseases of the nafs in our world, in our lives, in our homes, in the world. And the times that we're going through, we're a witness to it. And there are names of Allah which are custom designed for each to heal each level of the nafs. So I'll go through the 7 levels of the nafs one by one. Oh my God, and prepare for your minds to be blown because it blew mine. And I still have not fully grasped it, of course, and that's why this is a constant journey. So the first one is an-nafsul amara. Al-nafsul amara, which is the most dense level of the nafs. So now, before we go into the levels of the nafs, visualize so density level is what differentiates the levels of the nafs. So the deepest, densest level of the nafs is nafsul amara. And that denser, imagine like aapke wo jo packed energies hoti hai na, very, very close together, extremely dense. ये वो वाला nafs का level है. And this level is equal to, it stands for desire. Desire at the most base level. Sexual desire, desire for money, for power, for control. All of this, the heart of all of these kind of desires is sexual desire. So it's the most base, the most dense level of desire. In Arabic, it's called hima. And a beautiful depiction of hima, of nafsul amara, is in the story of Yusuf and Zulaikha. Because we are told that an-nafsul amara drives us towards degradation, except for the divine loving compassion of Allah. So desire is not the problem. Because it's the same desire that can drive us to degradation. And it's the same desire that can elevate a person's humanity towards dignity. It's the same desire. And the potential that this nafs holds, remember, because we're alchemists right now, because nafsul amara holds the essence of desire, the potential that it holds for us is self-respect, dignity. self-honor, feeling into who we are, and relating it back to, subhanallah, the story of Yusuf and Zulaikha. When, and such a beautiful, Zulaikha was told by her husband to make Yusuf stay here, Akram. Akram, Kareem, which is an emphatic form of Kareem, the one which is at peace, the one which is beautiful. Kareem is beautiful, right? So Zulaikha was told by her husband to make Yusuf stay here, Kareem. And when, at the time that Yusuf resisted Zulaikha, you know what Yusuf said? He successfully resisted Zulaikha. You know what Yusuf said? That the dwelling place of this nafs has indeed been made perfect or beautiful, because I received the desire and I chose to alchemize it. It is indeed now, my nafs is indeed resting in a beautiful place, subhanallah. So the same desire that a husband asked his wife to invoke in Yusuf, Yusuf alchemized it into creating a place of beauty. Alchemized it into converting into a place of beauty. And that's what he said. That's what an alchemist, or being an alchemist, feels like. You take what you're given, which feels base, which feels low, and it feels like slime, and you use the same. You don't look for another material. See what Yusuf has done here. You use that slime, you use that baseness, and you alchemize it into a place of beauty. It's the same place. It's the same place. It's the same level of the nafs that Yusuf has alchemized. He's not tuning into a higher nafs to escape this nafs. That's not what alchemy feels like. Alchemy feels like working with what you have, the material that you have right now, and converting the same material into beauty, converting the same pain into wisdom, converting the same darkness into light, the same, not looking for another. And how did he do that? The names of Allah, which are custom designed for this nafswa, Ya Kareem, Ya Rahim, subhanallah. And see, when he said, when Zulaikha's husband said, make it Akram, it's an emphatic form of Kareem. Within the same wound is the medicine. So the healer of Nafsul Amara is Ya Kareem. Kareem, the one of beautiful, delicate, fertile beauty. Delicate, fertile beauty, very feminine in nature, Ya Kareem. Ya Rahim, we discussed it the last time, is a forever flowing Rahma, a forever flowing gentleness. It may not be immediate, but it's a forever flowing river. So it's almost like you've taken a daldal of Kicher, and with Ya Rahim, Ya Kareem as an invocation, little by little, you see it transform. Little by little, you see the lotuses emerge from it. Subhanallah. The same desire that drives us towards degradation is the same desire that enables us to feel into the honor with which we have been created, to feel into the honor of the one who has created us. So the densest level is Nafsul Amara. On the second level, and I'm going bottom up, right? So Nafsul Lavama. And Nafsul Lavama is the sense of self, the level of self that is all about blame. All about blame, complaining. I don't have this. It happened to me because of my parents. It happened to me because of my childhood. It happened because I was abandoned. It happened because they did not care for me. It's continuing to happen because my home space is toxic. It's happening because the world is toxic. Look at the events of the world. They are very, very harsh. Of course, it's feeling. So look, the outward throwing of energy, looking outward always, looking at something to blame for the unrest that we're feeling inside is Nafsul Lavama. And yet, subhanallah, it is the same nafs. Feel this. It is the same nafs that enables us to come back to Allah again and again. It's like it's the same nafs that enables us to take a U-turn. So if we are, what I'm visualizing is that we are travelers who are looking at the road in front of us, which leads from our heart outside to the world. And हमने अपने बैग पैक किया और हम लोग उस रोड के ऊपर निकल पड़े ढूंढने के लिए all the things which are wrong about the world so that we can find more reasons to feel bad about ourselves. So we are those travelers. But it's the same road, this road of Nafsul Lawama, it's the same road that has every 5 seconds a U-turn back to your heart. Every 5 seconds U-turn back to your heart, because it is the same road that enables us that the more you travel outside, you more you understand that there's nothing on the outside. And so the more you're enabled to take the U-turn and come back to Allah, awab. Nafsul Lawama enables you to be awab. And remember what awab is. It's the bee that leaves its nest, leaves its hive to go in search for the nectar, and it travels as far as it must, but it always, 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 always comes back to its hive. That is Nafsul Lawam, the one where it propels us in its denser form, in its darkness form. It propels us to go outwards like the bee. It propels us to go in search of honey. It propels us to look at, like the lens that we put on is, it happened to me because of this and this. It happened to me because of that and that. It propels us to project a blame outside. But it's the same nafs that enables us to take a U-turn back to Allah, because subhanallah, the names, one of the, okay, so the names which are created, which are custom designed for healing this nafs, nafsul lawama, of blame, of a sense of abandonment. That's what this is what it invokes in us, right? We've been abandoned by Allah. We've been abandoned by our family. We're abandoned by our caregivers, by our partners, by our children, by our friends, by my soul community, by my friend, whatever it's a sense of abandonment that we're carrying in this nafs. And look at, subhanallah, the names of Allah which are given to heal this, which is Al-Hasib. Oh, wow. Subhan Al-Hasib, the one जो हिसाब करते हैं, but हिसाब नहीं, accountability है. Self-accountability. Responsibility, self-responsibility for stepping into our role of what I can do right now from my own heart to heal my own wound, ताकि मेरी नजर बाहर उठने के बजाय हर दफा जब मुझे कोई चीज बाहर गलत नजर आ रही है, मैं अपनी नजर वापस अपने दिल के ऊपर लेकर आऊं. मैं कहूं मेरे दिल के अंदर वो कौन सी ऐसी चीज है जो मुझे enable कर रही है कि मुझे बाहर कोई चीज गलत नजर आ रही है. You see? This is Nafsul Lawama and the alchemy of Nafsul Lawama. And it's invoked by, it's alchemized by Al-Hasib, the one who has a beautiful sense of accountability and responsibility, who keeps it, who enables you to keep it. Subhanallah, Al-Hasib, the one who enables you to keep it. This beautiful sense of accountability and a beautiful sense of responsibility. हमारे अंदर अगर नहीं resources हैं to take responsibility for our actions, और हमारे अंदर नहीं होती हैं, and that's okay, but we have, Allah Ta'ala कहते, tell me, Al-Hasib, call to me. Say कि Allah Ta'ala, I'm more prone to blame. I'm more prone to projecting my wounds on the other people, and giving my power away. Help me take my power back. Al-Hasib, I will help you, Allah Ta'ala says, to take responsibility for your action. And a very beautiful name, another name of Allah that alchemizes it, it goes with Al-Hasib, it's Al-Mujib, the one who hears. And subhanallah, look at where this Nafsul Lawama is invoked in Quran, which is when it's a story, to understand the meaning of Nafsul Lawama, it's at the end of time. On Qiyamah, when a shaitan appears and he speaks, and many souls will look at him and say, but you promised us differently. And he says, I don't have any power over you. I called you and you listened to me. I had no authority. Don't blame me. Blame yourself. Blame your nafs. Blame your soul. That's Nafsul Lawama. And in answer to this, Allah Ta'ala says, when he calls to you, don't listen to him, call to me instead, because I listen to you and I reply to you. So when we feel abandoned, we feel like there's nobody out there to hear us. There's nobody out there to help us. I'm alone in this. Allah Ta'ala says, for this is Nafsul Lawama. He says, call out to me, Al-Mujib, the one who always, always, always answers every prayer. Because in essence, what Shaitan is saying is, you chose to listen to me. You did not direct your attention to Allah. Remember, the same seed has light and dark. You got riveted by the dark. Why did you not look at the light? So yeah, Al-Mujib, Al-Hasib and Al-Mujib together for Nafs al-Lawama enables us. Because nahi hota yaar, aasan nahi hai, but it enables us to tune our frequency, to tune our hearing, to listening to Allah, because you know that He's listening. Because the moment you call out to Al-Mujib, because Allah Ta'ala answers every prayer. So now if I'm saying Al-Mujib, Allah Ta'ala is like, Ji beta. It's like an instant reply. It's like, Ji bache. Kya ho gaya? What's up? It's an Al-Mujib, the one who always answers, says hello back. Never the person who ghosts you, never the person who does not pick up the phone, does not reply to your messages or leave your message on unread or not reply after having read the message. No, you say, Ya Mujib, he says, what's up? Ji meri jaan. It's his promise. So when you call out for Nafsul Lawama, when we are feeling alone and abandoned and we feel like we have the world to blame for our wounds, what do we do to alchemize it into one which returns to Allah, into being Awab, is Al-Hasib? Enable me to take my power back from my external events. And Ya Mujib, enable me. Allah Ta'ala, listen to me. Not even enable me. Listen to me, Allah Ta'ala. I have so many things to complain to you about. I have so many stories and मैंने बड़े हिसाब तो मैंने आपसे लेने हैं. And we say that, right? And some people's lives are like that, right? Because I know my mother, she looks at a couple of her friends, one specific friend in particular, for no apparent reason has she gone through the most tragic life in the world. And Amma sometimes says jokingly, it's like, इनका क्या हिसाब होना, इन्होंने अल्लाह ताला के जाके हिसाब करने के आपने मुझसे किया क्या ये? So when you say, Ya Mujib, you have these real conversations because he always answers and you will get the answers. You will always get the answers because that's his promise. So we heal our abandonment challenges, which Nafsul Lawama holds, and our blame challenges, our complaining challenges, because these are not bad things. Yeah. Remember, in these things, within these things is Awab. बाहर की layers ये जरूर दिखती होंगी, the complainer layer and the abandoned layer, but within that layer we've got to peel up within that layer. So it's not a bad layer, you see, it's a layer that exists to be alchemized. And we're not weak people, we are just being enabled to be able to alchemize them, and the enablement is in, for Nafsul Lawama, it is Al-Hasib, Al-Mujib. Oh, the third one is quite an interesting level of the nafs. It's Nafsul Mulhima. It's the third level of the nafs, and it's connected with Ilham or Ilham. And Ilham is considered to be a direct guidance from Allah. What it stands for in its challenging dark form is pride. An-Nafsul Mulhima. And what it has the potential to be alchemized into is guidance. Subhanallah. The same pride. And that's the difference between Shaitan and Adam. One could not alchemize Nafsul Mulhima, for example, which is Shaitan, with his pride. Could not say, yeah, I think you're right. I believe you're right. Could not say, I'm sorry. Could not say, forgive me. And there's Adam who said, forgive me. And he was elevated in his rank. Even as he was exiled from his dimension, from his heavenly dimension. And he was not alchemized. It doesn't remain an exile anymore, you see. It becomes a gift. It becomes a gift. When your exit turns into a gift is the alchemy that Adam used by alchemizing Nafsul Mulhima, by alchemizing pride to discernment and guidance. Because within Nafsul Mulhama, there are two aspects. One is taqwa, beautiful, right? Guidance, taqwa, beautiful, strong, confident, rooted, clear guidance. And the other one is fujur. And taqwa, Nafsul Mulhama, a healed state of Nafsul Mulhama, looks like Musa's mother, who put a basket of straw in the Nile and said, take it. She was inspired. She received that guidance. It was a balanced nafs because she received direct guidance from Allah Ta'ala to give her child to the river. And the fujur part of it, when is the same nafs is not in balance, are people who actually lose their mind and act psychotically, people who kill their entire families because they heard the word of God and they said, slaughter them. Or people who slaughter people in the name of Allah, saying, no, we are being guided. Subhanallah, you see. That's a distorted form of this nafs. That's the fujur part of this nafs. And there is a taqwa part of this nafs. And the name that we invoke so that we don't remain in that prideful, elevated fujur form of this nafs is, so of course it is, as-sabur. As-sabur and ash-shakur. Subhanallah, sabr and shukr. And feel into why that is, because all this nafs, this is the delicate balance of the nafs. Nafsul mulhima specifically exists in a very delicate balance. Because if it's going too fast, so to speak, visualize, if it's going too fast, it's vibrating too fast, it's easy for it to tip into fujur. Because those people who kill in the name of Allah, जो जहाद करते हैं और जो innocent लोगों को मारते हैं, जो extremists इन्हें हम कहते हैं, they fully believe and rooted in the fact that they're guided by Allah. But वो फजूर में खेल रहे हैं because balance बहुत delicate है. और वो balanced उनके लिए tilt इसलिए हुआ है, वो alchemize इसलिए नहीं हो पा रहा कि as-sabur ash-shakur, सब्र और शुक्र की कमी है उसमें. That's what alchemizes this particular nafs, its potential. And as-sabur now, imagine highly vibrating, a very fast, not highly, a very fast vibrating nafs, ऐसे ऐसे करके हिल रहा है, which is nafsul mulhima. Sabr is a frequency of beautiful content balance. Do you feel it? Soft, beautiful content balance, stillness. Subhanallah. So the alchemy of pride is sabr and shukr, which is a frequency of stillness. Slow down. Stay in one place for a while, for a longer while now, and for even more of a longer while, and a longer while. And then your pride, this nafs al-mulhama takes over, and he's like, why aren't you doing things, and why aren't you going places, and what are you doing, and people are going right, and her puri race chal rahi hai, aur tum apni jagah ke upar khadi hui ho, baaki sare to bhaag ke aage ja rahe hain. And as-sabr, as-sabur, khade raho wahan pe for a while, because you're meant to, because mulhama, ilham is guidance. This is here in your stillness, you will receive the guidance. You will need to take that one step, subhanallah, that one step that is in impact more than 100 steps of those who are in a hurry, who are hurrying without stillness, without sabr, you see, inspired action. So mulhama asks us, when we are finding ourselves to be in a place of wanting to do because we're inspired. That's not inspiration. That's a nafsul mulhama out of balance. So come back into balance. As-sabur and shakur. Find beautiful things in the place that you're standing in stillness right now, so that this nafs can be in balance, so that you can receive the true guidance from Allah Ta'ala, so that you can take the one step that you need, as inspired action. Subhanallah. So that's what gratitude, as-sabr and shukr enables us to do. It enables us to avoid these distorted versions of pride. And within Nafsul Mulhima, look at the potential of this nafs. Subhanallah. Sabse pehle bataun kya within this nafs is Al-Huda, which is divine guidance at a prophetic level. हम लोगों को कितना बुरा लगता है pride. The same alchemized version of pride is a prophet. It is within this nafs is Al-Huda, divine guidance at a prophetic level. That's the first kind of guidance that lies as a potential to be alchemized within this nafs. And the second one that lies as a potential to be for guidance is Al-Rushd, which is for a select group. And it may come through a spiritual guide, the one who acts as a channel of guidance. That's Rushd. And it's that guidance which is applied to specific needs, customized guidance, and it actually mediates between extremes, a place of balance. Subhanallah. Look at, my God, the wisdom, the wisdom, the wisdom, Allah, the wisdom. And the last part, well, not the last part, the third component of guidance, because the first component of guidance within Nafsul Mulhima is Al-Huda, which is at a prophetic level. The second one is Al-Rushd, which is for a small group of people. And the third component is Ilham, the actual guidance, the actual inspiration, the actual spark that comes to you, the actual thought without an intermediary, directly on your heart from your Rabb, Subhanallah, Rabbul Alameen. And the story of this nafs coming to life in Quran is, of course, the story of Khizr, and it is Friday. A reminder, please, for us all to read, if not the whole of Surah Kahf, then the first 10 and the last 10 ayah of Surah Kahf. So the story of Khizr and Musa, where Khizr is actually acting as the one, as a guide who has his nafsul mulhima alchemized. And Musa is not being able to see that, because he's in the process of alchemizing nafsul mulhima. Isn't it so beautiful? Because we know what Khizr ended up doing. In terms of his outward actions, they looked like completely out of balance. They looked like fujur, unbalanced form of nafsul mulhama. But he was acting from a place of taqwa. That is why his story is summarized in the Quran and is told in the Quran. Such an important, beautiful, divine way. Because he knew he was inspired by Allah. His nafs was in balance. And he was doing all of those things which had supreme benefit. Because when this nafs is in balance, and then when we take inspired action by practicing sabr, by practicing shukr, through practicing sabr, through practicing shukr, then my God, that one step of inspired action may not make sense to anybody else out in the world, but subhanallah, the benefit that it has, the benefit it has for you and for the rest of humanity. And the benefit will reveal itself to you, as we find in the story of Khidr, because as an onlooker, drilling holes in a boat and killing people, killing a teenager, and then mending a wall in a crazy town which refused to even like honor your presence, as was the tradition of the town, looked like crazy people actions. And the benefits, when revealed, were beautiful, sublime, forever benefits. He saved a boat from being taken over by a cruel king. And with a teenager also, his actions were, we need to read the stories more in detail, but the teenager, the one that he killed, was a part of, if you go deeper into hadith, was a part of a gang of highway robbers who was bringing extreme distress to his parents and extreme distress to society. And then we don't understand that, but this is nafsul mulhama in beautiful balance. And the wall that he decided to fix, protected that town from an invasion that they did not know of, even though they were ungrateful. But within those people were beautiful believers as well, जिसका treasure भी protect हो रहा था, जिनके अब्बा ने उनका treasure भी छुपाया हुआ था उस wall के अंदर. So by fixing the wall, दो चीजों के साथ, two beautiful benefits, Khizr delivered to that town. And that's nafsul mulhima. Beautiful with sabr and beautiful with shukr. And the fourth one is, and Ameen, inshallah, may Allah Ta'ala all enable us to alchemize to keep alchemizing. ये कोई one time job नहीं है alchemy. It's a constant practice of alchemy. It's like I feel like we get into the habit of saying I'm going to my alchemical suite right now because I have things to alchemize, and that's a daily practice. So the fourth one is nafsul mutmaina, the mutmain nafs, beautiful. And the dark version of nafsul mutmaina is the one which is ungrateful. And so much that they're always stressed out, always running for more, always running for more. And the parable that Allah Ta'ala has used to describe that nafsul mutmaina's dark version, which is not being grateful, is a city that enjoyed peace and quiet and serenity, abundantly supplied with sustenance from every place, and yet it was not thankful for the gifts that Allah had favored it with. The gifts that Allah had favored it with. So Nafsul Mutmaina, in an unbalanced, in a dark form, tells us that we never have enough, that we need more. This is not enough. It blinds us to the gifts that we have right now. Because where we are not, just always looks better. What anybody else has just always looks better. And what we have always feels less. And this constant state of, I want more, this constant state of stress that I don't have enough, which takes us our eyes away from the gifts that we already have. It may not be the gifts that we want in the shape and the form and in the currency that we want now. They may not be the gifts that other people have, but we have our gifts. And the alchemical potential of this Nafs is infinite abundance. Subhanallah, is infinite abundance, to live as an infinitely abundant soul. And it is alchemized through the names of Subhanallah. Look at this, Ar-Razaq, Ar-Razaq, and Al-Wahhab. Subhanallah. And Al-Razaq is, it's so beautiful because Al-Razaq is the one that forever, continuously, forever gives from a treasure trove, from a treasure house, that the more you give from, the more it is filled up. It is, there's no way of ascribing a quantity to that treasure house, because Allah Ta'ala said, वो आप उसको अगर पूरे कायनात को भी लपेट के उस treasure trove में बंद कर लोगे, वो भी, it's a speck within that treasure trove. The entire universes that you can imagine, that you can visualize, that you can feel into, what you want, the biggest desires that you have, multiply that with 8 million, because sari universes के सारी desires मिला के उन सबको इकट्ठा करके उस treasure house में लेके आओ, तो it's like one speck. That's how Allah Ta'ala describes his treasure house. And what Ar-Razaq enables us to do is feel into the risk that we already have, feel into the fertility of the ground that we already have. And the more we feel into the fertility of the ground, the more abundant, the more fertile it brings. It's like when the ground feels like it's being loved by you, the ground that you're standing on, it becomes even more fertile. वो खुद ब खुद गाजरें और मूलियां और like सब्जियां देना शुरू कर देगा. It's like that. वो उसको बहुत खुशी होती है आपसे प्यार मिलके उस ground को. तो वो खुद ब खुद ही propagate करना शुरू कर देता है. Ar-Razaq. Subhanallah. And the Al-Wahhab is the one who gives continuously. The one who gives continuously. And what does he give? What is the alchemical potential of Mutmaina is, of course, abundance in the ways that we can imagine, your physical abundance, but most importantly, it's sakoon. Isn't that what we want in our lives? Isn't that what we're lacking? Like we've taken pills and we're going to energy healers and we're going to places, we're asking for help, we're looking for videos, and all of those are beautiful ways. And yet there's another beautiful, powerful way to alchemize this sense of besakuni, this restlessness, because that's your nafsul mutmaina, not in balance. And how to bring it into balance is Ar-Razaq, Al-Wahhab, and Al-Fatah also, the great opener, the great opener. Opener of what? Opener of my heart and my eyes to what I have right now. Opener of my heart and my eyes to feel into whatever is right now. ताकि मेरी आंख उधर जाए ही ना, मेरी आंख इधर रहे. And the more we invoke al-Razak, al-Wahhab, al-Fatah, what it enables us to do is कि हमारी we're training our gaze, the inward gaze, to stay on our hearts. And the more we train it to stay on our hearts, the more we train it not to look outward, the more fertile, the more abundant, the more pursukoon our inner world becomes. And the more abundant, the more at ease our inner heart becomes, the inner world becomes, the more it must give fruit, so to speak. वो सुकून के अंदर खूबसूरत चीजें उठती हैं. All the physical ease and all the physical desires that we have, वो उस सुकून के अंदर उठती हैं. Because वो कहते हैं ना कि आपको अगर कोई चीज मिल भी जाए, something that you desire very deeply, वो आपसे कभी ऐसा होता है कि you've not been able to handle it. मिल भी जाए तो बेसुकूनी. So we first create a place of sukoon inside with al-Razak, al-Wahhab, al-Fatah, by balancing Nafsul Mutmainna, which otherwise is forever looking outward, by alchemizing it with this so that it becomes a fertile, beautiful place to stay in. And when the place becomes fertile and beautiful, we want to stay in it more. When we want to stay in it more, that place feels your love and your desire to stay here. It becomes fertile. It begins to sprout trees and flowers, metaphorical, of course, which means that it begins to bring to you everything that you want. You begin to manifest abundance in your outer life. That's what it actually means. Because आपका अंदर सुकून में है, तो उस सुकून वाले अंदर से खूबसूरत चीजें उगनी हैं. That's the energetic principle. The next two nafs are connected, al-nafsul radiyah and nafsul mardiyah. Linguistically, they're related to each other. And radiyah means well-pleased. Well-pleased. What would be a beautiful name, feeling for it? Well-pleased. I am, well, alhamdulillah, yes, but I am very pleased with what you have given. It's like a friendly, beautiful, full of gratitude, but also such realization of the gifts that you have and the giver of those gifts at the same time. एक तो होता है ना gift होता है, वो gift is very beautiful. But when you understand कि जो देने वाला है, उसकी क्या frequency है to give you that gift becomes even more beautiful in you knowing the giver of that gift. That is nafsul radiyah. So feeling well contented is radiyah. To understand where it comes from, who the giver of your beautiful gift is mardiyah, which is why it's a state of feeling well pleased and state of feeling content and enriched because you know who the giver of that gift is. Subhanallah. So nafsul radiyah and nafsul mardiyah, when out of balance, you know what the frequency is? Shame and despise. When you're not happy with anything in your life, when you're not happy with the people who even love you, when you push away, and we have been those people, right? We push away the people who love us because we're not ready to receive. When our receiving channel is blocked, when we overgive and are not in the practice of receiving equally, that is nafsul radiyah and nafsul mardiyah. When our giving and receiving energy is out of balance. And this is what happens. Givers who give and give and give and give, it carry a lot of resentment. They might fake their way for even years, believing in nahi, I am a giver and I'm here to help people. But my God, the resentment that they carry within themselves, that is an out of balance, non-alchemized version of nafsul radiyah. But when we begin to come into balance, when we begin to alchemize it, because the alchemical potential of nafsul radiyah and nafsul mardiyah from humiliation, from shame, from despise is a gentle, loving kindness and an openness to giving and receiving, because the names of Allah which alchemizes nafs are Ya Manan, Subhanallah. It is linked to manna from heaven, the giver of gifts. So Ya Manan actually is abundance, और उसके साथ जो दूसरा नाम है इस Al-Muti, which is giver of gifts. So Al-Manan, Al-Muti. But if you want to invoke them, Ya Manan, Ya Muti, of course. So Al-Manan, Al-Muti, Ya Manan, Mana from heaven, beautiful, rich, enriching food for the soul that's sent down is Manan. And when you understand who is sending that down and the one who loves giving gifts, the one who revels in giving gifts, Al-Muti, he's the one who revels in giving gifts. And Radhya and Nafsul Madhya is the one, again, the alchemical potential, because when you understand who the giver of gifts is and you're feeling well pleased with the gifts that you're receiving, in fact, the highest alchemical potential of this particular nafs is Rizwan Allah, Ridwan Allah, the path of drawing closer to Allah. So you're on the path very, very strongly that leads directly and only to Allah. That's the highest alchemical potential of this gift. From shame and feeling of despise and humiliation, which is the dark version, to, I'm going to Allah's house, like not the literal house here, but like Allah's house. I'm going to meet Allah. To that road. So like, look at the dramatic contrasts, because that's what alchemy is. Within the same, you will find the other when we balance this nafs. And we balance it by invoking Ya Manan and Ya Mati. And within that is also the contrast of the one which, just for us to be able to feel into what this feeling of despise when you're giving a lot and we're not being able to receive a lot, what that feels like is sakhta. And of course, we are familiar with the Urdu word, which is sakht. And it is to deem a gift very little, to not be appreciative about ye kya hai? Ye kya inhone de diya? And even if it's the most beautiful thing, inko nahi chahiye hoga, isliye mujhe de di. Like, to that frequency, do you feel it? That's the frequency, which is the dark frequency of Nafsul Radya. Because the alchemical potential, because it's the path that goes to Allah, draws us closer to Allah, the alchemical potential of the same one, I don't care what you've given, must be very dismissive of the gift you've received. The alchemical potential is in love with the gift that you've received. Love. The alchemical potential is love, in love with the gift that you've received. Subhanallah. In love with the giver of that gift. Subhanallah. So complete opposite. What beautiful, powerful potential here. It's the same thing that I swear to God, the smallest things become the biggest things. So that day I'm having sonf, right? My daughter has digestive challenges, so there's always good in sonf. And I found myself taking out the good for her and only having sonf, believing इंसान कि नहीं enough. बहुत छोटी एग्जाम्पल है, बट फील इनटू इट, कि मैंने कहा नहीं, गुड़ मैं उसके लिए बचा के रख देती हूँ, मैं सौंफ खाती हूँ, बट मैंने कहा वेट अ मिनट, लाइक मेरे अल्लाह को ज्यादा छोटे हैं, उसके अल्लाह बहुत गुड़ देने वाले, मेरे अल्लाह कम गुड़, ये क्या सीन है? मैंने एक्सक्यूज मी अल्लाह, आई वांट टू हैव द गुड़ इन द सौंफ. Within 2 minutes I go downstairs and my mother says, oh, by the way, you know that वो जो गांव से गुड़ आया हुआ था, जो हमें मिल नहीं रहा था, उसको इतना बड़ा लिफाफा मिला है. Within 2 minutes. Oh, about good. I'm not talking to her about good in life. Why is she talking to me about good? Like, who's saying all of these things? Allah Ta'ala is. There's an entire lafafa of ऊपर से गांव का like organic good that's lying for me. Why? Because, and in that moment, what was my reaction? I was like, Subhanallah, Allah Ta'ala, what a gift you've given me. और मैं तो बिल्कुल ही प्यार हो गया उनसे, दोबारा से प्यार हो गया, you know, because again, and we know this about love. It's not a one-time thing that you, nikah that you sign and you're over with it. It's not like one-time bath that you take and you're over, or one-time kalma that you read. It's not that. It's not a one-time promise. It's a promise that has to be practiced on a daily basis. It's a promise that has to be chosen on a daily basis. So we have to choose to fall in love with our Creator. And my God, the giver of good, yaar. My God, like what a beautiful Rabb I have. What a beautiful giver of gifts. An immediate giver of gifts. And when I was reading about this, I was like, so first of all, the same nafs was saying, nahi, there is not enough. Itna sa to pata nahi kahan se aayega. And the same nafs, when alchemized, goes completely in love, because I know, I'm a witness to the state of my heart at that time. कि मुझे कितना प्यार हुआ था अल्लाह ताला से, like बिल्कुल ही मिरेकल वाला प्यार. किसी ने कोई क्या ही किसी ने आसमान को 4 टुकड़ों में किया होगा, मेरे लिए वो मोमेंट था उस वक्त. वो गुड़ वाला moment. So this is the alchemical potential of Ya Manan and Ya Muti, the giver of gifts, when we begin to fall in love with who he is. Because when we are pleased, तो अल्लाह ताला भी बहुत वैसे ना क्यूट मुझे कभी भी लगते हैं. मतलब what a thing to say, huh? When a soul is well pleased with their creator. Like what a thing to say. What do you mean? कितनी मतलब शर्मिंदा करने वाली बात है ना आपको जैसा. When a soul is well pleased, that is what this nafs is about. What a beautiful Rabb that we have, who wants us to be happy with him, who wants us to be happy with him. Because when a soul is well pleased with their Rabb, Allah Ta'ala says, I'm well pleased with the soul too. But he was already well pleased with the soul. He just wanted the soul to be well pleased with him. It's more of a like a cyclical kind of an affirmation that he's saying, yeah, I'm also well pleased with you. So that is the potential of Nafsul Radhiya and Mardiya, both at the same time. To be at not just at peace, because Nafsul Matmaina is different, right? So to be happy, to be pleased with their Rabb. You know, it's one of the duas of the Prophet, and I never remember which one, maybe Zakaria, but it's in Quran. Walam akun bi du'aika rabba shakiya. I have never been disappointed in my prayer to my Rabb. Never been disappointed. What is this dua of? From? This dua is from Nafsul Radhiya and Nafsul Mardiya in beautiful alchemized version. जो भी जिंदगी के हालात हैं, जो भी है, ये हो नहीं सकता because I know who my Rabb is. I know he's a giver of gifts. I know that if I'm not being able to receive his gift, that means that my nafs, there is a potential in that to be alchemized. How do I alchemize it? Bring my attention, Ya Allah, to the one, to Manan, to Al-Manan, the one who gives abundantly, and to the giver of gifts, Al-Mati, so that I may be able to receive the beauty, the bounty that you already forever have towards me. And that's when that heart makes that dua. I've never been disappointed in invoking my Allah, in making dua to my Allah. Never have I been disappointed. Never have I. And that's a testimony, that's a shahada of this nafs to what their Rabb is. This is what shahadat looks like. When your dua is this. और दुआ सुनने वाला कोई नहीं है, बट वो दुआ की रिसीविंग क्या ही होगी कि वो कुरान में है. सुभान अल्लाह. वो क्या ही कोई इस नफ्स की आलकमी होगी कि वो दुआ कुरान में है. खूबसूरत. And the seventh one is what the Sufis are all about, huh? It's Nafsul Zakiya. Zakiya actually means a pure soul, and it's the highest grade. It's a purified soul. So the purification, just to understand how it links to, the purified soul is a synonym for fana, which is when all the levels of the souls of the nafs have been alchemized so consistently and in such balance, such that the highest level of the soul is now ready to dissolve into the soul of Allah. Subhanallah. So the purification of the soul is fana, the first level. Fana leads to baka, which is the realization of the real self when you begin to see the observer. And the last one is to liqa, which is the final meeting, the final union of all ways. Subhanallah. So within Nafsul Zakiya is the meeting, is becoming one with Allah. Because the first is just the dissolution, the fana. The second one is the baka, the realization. And the third one is liqa, the meeting. And this entire process of purification is called tasawwuf or Sufism. So once you have consistently practiced the alchemy of all six levels of our self, of 6 levels of our nafs, then we reach this last one, which is Nafsul Zakiya. And it's actually also called Nafsul Sufiya. And the one which has Nafsul Zakiya attained is actually called a fakir, which is another name for Sufi, which means one who is empty in relation to God. It's a purified soul. And the examples of the purified soul, of course, the biggest one is Miraj. And the purification of that soul began when he was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was a toddler, when his heart was cut open, and he went through a process by the angels where it was purified and placed back into his breast was cut open and his heart was purified in pure light and then put back into the chamber and was sealed up. And it was due to this purification of the nafs, it was due to this that he could cross the final line that Hazrat Jibreel was not allowed to, was not given permission to cross at the time of Miraj. And so the fact that he opened up this pathway, and that's the gift. Miraj is a gift given to us through namaz, right? His ummah. The fact that we have the ability to reach and to attain that nafsul zakiya, we have the potential within us. We have the potential within us. Angels do not have the potential. Hazrat Jibreel does not have the potential. Do you understand why they were asked to bow in front of Adam? Do you understand why they could not cross beyond the lote tree and one could? And do you understand how after his crossing, we were all enabled to cross that boundary? And when he met Allah, who did he meet? He said, I met myself. I met myself. Fana and Baka and Lega is available to us as a potential of the alchemy of Nafsul Zakiya. And the most beautiful part of Zakiya, it's actually, Nafsul Zakiya is also called the greatest sign. Do you know that? Subhanallah. It's also it's also called the greatest sign, Ayatul Kubra. And feel into this. Ayatul Kubra is in the nafs, which is not seen. Because when Musa asked Allah Ta'ala, okay, what is my plan? What is my path? And he said, go to Pharaoh. He said, I cannot go. Will I speak to him? And you know what Allah Ta'ala said? Take Ayatul Kubra to him. What was he going to take? He had nothing in his hands. What did Musa take? He took Nafsul Zakiya to the Pharaoh when he stood in front of him into his court, overwhelming court of supporters. Musa stood in front of him. What did he have with him that nobody else, that Pharaoh did not have? What was his gift from Allah, the gift that he had attained? Musa was Nafsul Zakiya, which is also called Ayatul Kubra. And so Nafsul Zakiya is the alchemized version of the nafs that has the potential to transform other nafs. It is I want to call it a violent alchemical reaction. From my nafs to yours, it's an alchemical chain that begins, which is why Nafsul Zakiya is the highest order, which is why the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the one that's treasured and honored till the end of time, because we carry the potential to alchemize Nafsul Zakiya. And interestingly, you know, the dark part, and this is where, I can't even, the more you know, the less you know, the more you know, the less you know, the more you know, the nothing you know. Because the shadow part of Nafsul Zakiya, which we have not talked about, is, guess what? Again, ready to get your minds be blown. Again, greed, Nafsul Amara. Again, it goes back to the first nafs. It's a cycle. It's not even a pyramid. It's not even layered. So the top part of the nafs, so to speak, because our minds work in the linear version, the highest part of the nafs, which is Nafsul Zakiya, its shadow is still the first part of the nafs, which is greed. It's the same greed that leads us towards degradation. And it's the same greed that gives us Ayatul Kubra, that takes us beyond the lot tree, because that greed alchemizes to your deep, deep, deep desire to sit with your Rabb and to have chai with him, and somehow for his eyes to light up on the day of Qiyamah, when with pride, hey, I know you. For him to say, hey, I know you, and I'm so proud of you, and I've been waiting for you. Come here, little girl, or come here, little boy. The same greed, Nafsul Amara, its alchemized version in a cycle, is Nafsul Zakiya. So what we want to take away from this today is all there is in the darkness that we feel and live in our everyday life is its alchemical potential. And before I forget, Allah's names for balancing Nafsul Zakiya is Al-Ghani, the boundless giver of abundance. Al-Ghani, boundless. Get it? He went beyond the, sound like my teenage son, get it, after making an obvious statement. Boundless, because he went beyond the load tree. There is no bound, there's no limit. Subhanallah, Al-Ghani. That's the one powerful name for alchemizing the desire of our nafs, from nafsul amara to nafsul zakiya. Al-Ghani, boundless, there are no limits, there are none. None have been given to you. And the only ones created by us are the ones which are created by us. There are no limits to how far, how deep, how totally, how completely you can be with Allah from here, because ये नफ्स आपके अभी जिंदा है. इनका alchemical potential आपकी beating heart के साथ है, हमारी breath के साथ है. उसके बाद तो game over है. उसके बाद तो game ही कोई और है. We don't know the rules of that game. So whatever we deem as darkness is an alchemical potential to be transformed into the most beautiful light there is. So do not be afraid of your shadows. Make friends with them and alchemize them, because within the same shadows is the light. You can't get to the light without going through the shadows. You can't do it. There is no pathway. There is no pathway to light without going through the shadows. There's none. There is none. And whoever only talks about like love and light and happiness and joy and like abundance and flow without the shadows, there is no path. There is none. All paths leads to the shadows, because it's by alchemizing the shadows that we receive the light. And we're in the business of alchemy. Being a human being is to be an alchemist. And what we're asked to do is to be a masterful alchemist of our own nafs. Play with it, and see and feel into the multidimensional ways that you can connect to Allah and with each other and travel and receive beautiful gifts and wisdom. Ameen. So thank you everybody for being here.